Welcome, lovely viewers, to another exciting video. Welcome, curious minds, to our video that explores the ins and outs of Gentleman's Agreement. Gentleman's Agreement is a 1947 American drama film based on Nora Z. Hobson's best-selling 1947 novel of the same title. The film is about a journalist played by Gregory Peck who pretends to be Jewish to research and expose on the widespread antisemitism in New York City and the affluent communities of New Canaan and Darien, Connecticut. It was nominated for 8 Academy Awards and won 3: Best Picture, Best Supporting Actress Celeste Holm, and Best Director Elia Kazan. The movie was controversial in its day, as was a similar film on the same subject, Crossfire, which was released the same year, though that film was originally a story about anti-homosexuality, later changed to antisemitism. In 2017, the film was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Let's zoom in on plot and understand its implications. Widowed journalist Philip Schuyler Green moves to New York City with his aging mother and his young son Tommy. Phil meets with magazine publisher John Menifee, who asks Green, a Gentile, to write an article on antisemitism. At first, he is not enthusiastic about the story. At a lunch party, Phil meets Menifee's niece Kathy Lacey, who is actually the person who suggested the story idea. The next day, at home, Phil admits his surprise after learning that the idea came from a girl. His mother mocks him for his anti-female prejudice. Phil then tries to explain anti-Jewish prejudice to his son. Realizing how difficult it is to explain these topics, he decides to write the story. Phil and Kathy begin dating and Phil adopts a Jewish identity to write the story from a fresh perspective. They agree to keep it secret that Phil is not Jewish. Despite seeming to have liberal views, Kathy is taken aback after learning of Phil's plan. At the magazine, Phil is assigned a secretary, Elaine Wales. She turns out to be Jewish, but changed her name to get the job. After learning of Wales' experience from Phil, Menifee orders the magazine to adopt hiring policies that are open to Jews. Phil meets fashion editor Ann Detry, who becomes a good friend and potentially more, particularly as strains develop between Phil and Kathy. After completing his service in WWII, Dave Goldman, Phil's childhood friend, moves to New York and lives with the Greens while searching a job and a home for his family. Being Jewish, Dave also experiences antisemitism. Housing is scarce in the city, but it is particularly difficult for him, since not all landlords will rent to a Jewish family. While researching his story, Phil experiences several incidents of bigotry. When Phil's mother becomes ill with a heart condition, the doctor discourages him from consulting a specialist with a Jewish name. After hearing Phil is Jewish, the doctor becomes uncomfortable and leaves. In addition, the janitor is shocked to see that a Jewish name is listed on the mailbox. Furthermore, when Phil wants to celebrate his honeymoon at a swanky hotel, the manager refuses to register Phil, whom he tells to go elsewhere. Tommy also becomes the target of bullies because of this. Phil is troubled by the way Kathy consoles Tommy, telling him their taunts of dirty Jew are wrong because he is not Jewish, not that the epithet is wrong in and of itself. Kathy's attitudes are revealed further when she and Phil announce their engagement. Her sister Jane invites them to a celebration in her home in Darien, which is known to be a community where Jews are not welcome. Fearing an awkward scene, Kathy wants to tell her family and friends that Phil only pretends to be Jewish, but he dissuades her. At the party, everyone is friendly to Phil, though many people cancel at the last minute. Dave announces he will have to quit his job because he cannot find a residence for his family. Kathy owns a vacant cottage in Darien and Phil sees it as a solution to Dave's problem. Kathy, however, is unwilling to offend her neighbors by renting it to a Jewish family. Phil breaks his engagement to her and announces he will be moving away from New York when his article is published. When it comes out, it is well received by the magazine staff. Kathy meets with Dave and tells him how sick she felt when a party guest told a bigoted joke. However, She has no answer when Dave asks her what she did about it. She realizes that remaining silent condones the prejudice. The next day, Dave announces that he and his family will be moving into the cottage in Darien, and Kathy will be moving in with her sister next door to make sure they are treated well. Moved by this, Phil reconciles with Kathy. His mother, still recovering from her heart condition, tells Phil that his article has given her new hope for the future, a new motivation to get well. With the groundwork laid, let's now examine cast and its connections to our previous discussions. Gregory Peck as Philip, Skylar Green and Revere as Mrs. Green, Dorothy McGuire as Kathy Lacey, June Havoc as Elaine Wales, John Garfield as Dave Goldman, Albert Decker as John Minifie, Celeste Holm as Andetri, Jane Wyatt as Jane. Get ready to immerse yourself in the world of other cast members as we examine its impact and relevance. Dean Stockwell as Tommy Green, Nicholas Joy as Dr. Craigie, Sam Jaffe as Professor Fred Lieberman. In the upcoming section, we'll be dissecting production and exploring its intricate connections to our topic. Zanuck decided to make a film version of Hobson's novel after being refused membership in the Los Angeles Country Club because it was assumed incorrectly that he was Jewish. Before filming commenced, Samuel Goldwyn and other Jewish film executives approached Darryl Zanuck and asked him not to make the film, fearing it would stir up trouble. They also warned that Hays Code enforcer Joseph Breen might not allow the film to pass the censors, as he had been known to make disparaging remarks about Jews. There was also concern that Dorothy McGuire's character being divorced would offend the National Legion of Decency. The role of Philip Green was first offered to Cary Grant, but he turned it down. Peck decided to accept the role, although his agent advised him to refuse, believing Peck would be endangering his career. Jewish actor John Garfield agreed to play a lesser role in the film to be a part of it. Portions of the film were shot on location in Darien, Connecticut. With that being said, let's now move on to reception and box office. Gentleman's Agreement received a generally favorable reception from influential New York Times critic Bosley Crowther. Crowther said that every point about prejudice which Miss Hobson had to make in her book has been made with superior illustration and more graphic demonstration in the film, so that the sweep of her moral indignation is not only widened, but intensified thereby. However, Crowther also said that the movie shared the novel's failings in that explorations are narrowly confined to the upper-class social and professional level to which he is immediately exposed. He also said the main character's shock at the extent of anti-Semitism was lacking in credibility. It is, in a careful analysis, an extraordinarily naive role. On review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an aggregate score of 82% based on 83 critic reviews, with an average rating of. The website's consensus reads, "It occasionally fails to live up to its subject matter and is perhaps an important film more than a great one, but the performances from Gregory Peck and Dorothy McGuire are superb." The New York Herald Tribune described it as a brilliant blow against racial and religious intolerance. The Daily Mirror assessed it as the most explosive picture of the year and one of the most exciting and punch-laden pictures you've ever seen. In addition to winning Academy Awards for Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Supporting Actress, Celeste Holm, Gentleman's Agreement was one of Fox's highest-grossing movies of 1947. The political nature of the film, however, upset the House Un-American Activities Committee, with Elia Kazan, John Garfield, and Anne Revere all being called to testify before the committee. Revere refused to testify, and although Garfield appeared, he refused to name names. Both were placed in the red channels of the Hollywood blacklist. Garfield remained on the blacklist for a year, was called again to testify against his wife, and died of a heart attack at the age of 39 before his second hearing date. In recognition for producing Gentleman's Agreement, the Hollywood chapter of B'nai B'rith International honored Darryl Zanuck as its Man of the Year for 1948. On Sunday, December 12, a gala commemoration evening was held in downtown Los Angeles at the Biltmore Hotel before a crowd of over 1,000. Among the tributes to Zanuck, New Mexico Senator Clinton Anderson said, He does not storm up and down the streets of a community, urging its citizens to do good. He does not fill the pages of books with words that string together into a sermon. He allows you to be seated comfortably in a theater, to be absorbed in a problem, and to walk out into the night with your thoughts clarified and your lips saying, "This situation ought to be changed." After the formal speeches, there was a star-studded variety show, including the debut before the Hollywood film world of the team of Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. The movie was an unexpected hit at the box office. According to Variety, it earned $3.90 million in rentals in the US in 1948. Leonard Maltin said, "Since her earth and daring approach to the subject matter is tame now. Remember, knowledge is power. Keep learning, growing, and exploring."